Hello, and thank you for joining us again for the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition Small Business Live Forum. I apologize for being a little late this week. There was a slight scheduling snafu, but here we are back again. The Rhode Island Small Business Coalition, for those of you out there who don't know, is a group of small business owners. I myself am a small business owner. My name is David Dadekian. I run Eat Drink Rhode Island. And if you check out rismallbusiness.org, you can join the coalition. It's open to everyone. We're going to have some membership packages coming out soon, but right now you can just sign up for the newsletter and find out more about the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. Our guest this week is the director of the Department of Business and Regulation, Liz Tanner. It's great to have Liz with us today.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Liz. Thanks very much for doing this. Let's start. Why don't we start? Broad, big picture. Can you tell everyone out there what it is that it seems like obvious with the name of the department, right? Business regulation. But tell everyone what the department does and what your role is there.
So DBR, we never have a boring day because we oversee a wide variety of divisions within the Department of Business Regulation. First and foremost, its foundation and what was sort of a part of its creation was the financial services industry. So we oversee anything that has to do with banking or insurance or securities, right? So sort of like the crux of banking, and that's a major part of society, right? So. Sure. So that's a big part of it. But we also oversee some other super interesting areas, such as gaming and gambling, right? So anything that happens at Twin River. There's also the athletics division. We oversee boxing and mixed martial arts. I'm actually the only female boxing commissioner in the country. So I'm actually one of the boxing commissioner. Again, never a dull moment. We also oversee a wide variety of random license types, anywhere from realtors to auto body to mobile homes, just sort of a mishmash of what didn't make sense to put anyplace else. Okay. And then a couple of years ago, we also picked up the fire and building space. So we have the fire marshal's office, and under there falls the fire academy, as well as the bomb squad. And then you also have the state building office, which is the contractor registration, as well as the mediation program for that, as well as the design professionals, which is like engineers and architects and things like that. And then, of course, there's marijuana. And so marijuana falls under DBR as well. So, again, never a dull moment, always a wide variety of things happening and going on. And so it's a fun job to have. And I very much love the variety of things I get to learn on a daily basis.
Yeah, you've been in the role how many years now?
2017, the end of 2017, in that role, and this past year was very much COVID focused. Right. So it's nice to get back to all things DBR and catch up where we left off a year ago.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let's just touch briefly though, because a lot of the questions we got from coalition members, and I'm sure a lot of things are going to end up on Facebook. Please, if you're out there watching this live on Facebook, you have questions for Liz, please put them into the Facebook chat, and we'll get to those towards the end. But a lot of questions that we get involve taxation, which is not your world at all. And I just want to say that up front, right? You don't have any control over any of that. Yeah.
No, but we do have the small business ombudsman who is. Sits at DBR. She's a DBR employee, and That's Nancy Scarduzio. My guess is many of you have worked with her over the years. She's absolutely fabulous about cutting through the red tape to figure out why something takes as long or has problems, whatever it might be. And she very much gets involved with a lot of taxation issues. So, you very often have a business who needs something from taxation, and they've submitted it, and it's stuck somewhere for some reason, or whatever it might be. And I'll say that, it goes both ways. Sometimes taxation is, taking a little long, but sometimes the applicant hasn't submitted all of their information properly. But Nancy often plays that role of intermediary to try to get whatever it is to fruition. And so highly encourage everyone. Matter of fact, and if Ben can put anything up on the screen, to come to DBR if you're interested in connecting with the small business ombuds person. That's what her job is, to take care of those kinds of things.
There you go, Ben. Thank you very much for putting that information up there. That's great. So, the ombudsman is a very important thing that's come up many times in a lot of our coalition meetings. We'd like to see someone at every division and department in that role. Nancy, obviously, it has been. I've worked with her as well. She's fantastic. She really knows her stuff and gets into the dirt, gets into the mud. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we've we've hoped for. I mean, is that something you think would work well across all the departments, or how would that work? Or do you think focusing it at DBR is really the key there?
It depends, right? Because if is it personal based, is it business based, and so one of the beauties of what our small business ombudsman does is she also tries to fix a process, right? So she'll fix the problem that you're in and get you whatever you need or get you out of whatever situation you're in. But then she tries to fix it long term as well. So
Right.
there are projects that she's worked on for a year or two to get all the right people in the room. One of the biggest projects that she did that was extremely successful and necessary was we had a lot of fishermen say to us, I want to be able to sell my fish from the boat. And how do I sell direct? And, Dave, you're familiar with this, and we've heard that complaint for years.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone would say, it's not against the law. You can do it. It's just that it was really hard to understand how to do it.
Yep.
So she took the time to get all the people in the room, and they created this beautiful flow chart that told you exactly what you needed to do. And now that's out there, and that information has been a huge win for the fishermen to do that. But it was an enormous amount of work trying to figure that out to sort of streamline that process and provide it. So what we find often is that whatever it is you're trying to do, it's usually you can do it. There's just some sort of reason that you can't, right? And so whether it's, there's a whole variety of things, but she spends a lot of time, again, trying to fix your situation, but then trying to prevent this from being a problem down the line. Because why would she want to fix the same problem over and over again? Let's try to fix it permanently.
Yeah. Yeah, and that fishing solution has been great, especially over the last year. It's been a great asset for a lot of fishing folks, and now it's hopefully it's very close. Last I checked, the Senate passed it. Should be codified into legislation that anyone can finally gut a fish and sell it to a person and cook whole fish, folks. I don't mean to derail this with the food talk, where this is a general small business, but as the food guy, buy whole fish and cook whole fish. So let's dive into the Unified Licensing Portal, Viewpoint. A lot of folks love it. The ones who've used it. Not every city and town has adopted it yet, but it's a state system as well. Could you tell the folks out there, for those who haven't used it, what's involved with it?
So, that's a great question. So when I came to state government in 2015, there was a push to actually implement it. So I believe the law was passed in 2012 requiring building permits to be on a state-sponsored system. And it took them, I think, 3 years to finally come up with who was going to do the software. And the company was originally called Viewpoint. They were purchased about a year and a half ago by a bigger company called OpenGov.
Oh, okay.
But we created this e-permitting. And so that was back in 2015. And initially it was just to do building and fire permits at the state level and the municipal level. And the beauty of that system, and we believe we're the only place in the entire country that does it, is that you enter in one place. So if you want to do some sort of building in, let's say, Barrington, you don't have to physically go in. You can do everything electronically. And you start in Barrington because Barrington wants to know what you're doing first. But if whatever you're doing requires state approval, you don't have to fill out another form. It's all in the system and it goes up to the state. So Barrington does what it needs to do. It goes up to the state needs what it needs to do. And then it can come back to Barrington to process the paperwork finally. And you can see where it's at throughout the whole process. So you don't have to worry about it sitting on someone's desk. You know where it's at and how long it's been there and who's the next person that needs to do. And you can communicate back and forth via email, and you can see all the information in one place. So it's been extremely successful on the building and fire side. I will also say that there are 31 municipalities out of 39 using it right now, which is really remarkable, right? You're not going to get all municipalities to agree on anything. We will probably have another 2 or 3 coming online in the next year. And then there's this last push to get the last other folks on. I will say that there is a piece of legislation put in by Leader Shakurchi to require all of the municipalities to be on e-permitting, but it's too early to tell if that's going to pass or not. But we'll know by next week, so you could see that. There's also been a huge desire by many municipalities, but not all of them, to expand the usage of it because it's good software and you can do a lot with it. So you've seen it where some clerk's offices use it. So, for example, Providence probably uses it more than anybody else. And you can do all of your licensing, your liquor licensing. I think they even do like the dog licenses. I'm not sure exactly what they use it for, but it's a software system to do all of that. And yes, you pay extra to use the electronic function. You can still go in if you want, but I don't have to take time out of work. I don't have to take time out of work, drive down to City Hall, pay to park, and then go in to fill out any paperwork. So it's been a real win, and we're hoping that more and more people use the software system for whatever purposes they see in municipal and state government.
Yeah, right. No, I've used it myself for an event in Providence, and it's very smooth. And you're right. I get an email every single time anything happened. Even like something minor that I don't have to respond to. You just get that notification. And that's great. It's great for the process. But, you did mention, and this is something that comes up often, how do we get a slightly better, I don't know if the word's oversight or unification, or I don't know what the right word is, between all these cities and towns? Because the rules change, right over a border, and in Rhode Island, right over a border could literally mean a walk down the street. What do you see there? Is this something that's legislative? Do you think it's something that's even possible? How do we get more uniformity?
So, with 39 municipalities, the fact that we have 31 all on one system with one set of forms, we consider that successful. And again, I think we'll have another couple come on. It's like having a lot of kids. You can't get them all to do what you want them to do as a parent, right? And so, the municipality is the same way. So if they want to do things differently, I don't think there's really ever going to be a law that says they have to do what the state tells them to do. That's
right.
Just probably not a reality. But if we can provide them with good software products and with good tools and resources, then you'd like to think that they're going to take advantage of that, unless they have something better. One of the things that we focused heavily on during COVID was the Zoom access. So when COVID started, there were some municipalities that were saying, we're just going to shut down town hall until this is over. Not, none of us knowing how long this was going to be.
Right.
And the Department of Business Regulation actually provided free Zoom licenses to each municipality so that they could have government in some form. And we've since then, since it's been a year now, we provided them with sort of the creme de la creme Zoom license at a very discounted price. You can't just buy one-offs of it. And so many of them take advantage of the tools and resources that we give them, but you can't make them all to do something.
Exactly. No, and that is the tricky situation with a lot of businesses. Speaking of Zooms and the cities and towns, do you see, and you may just have to give an educated guess that meetings and things of that nature are going to remain that way, and we'll be able to continue that with the quorum, obviously, on Zoom?
So this is perfectly timely, because if the legislature does not pass an open meetings law in the next 3 days, we have to go back to the way it used to be. And there can be no virtual meetings, no public participation via Zoom. No, it has to be 100% in person, just like it used to be. And I don't think that's what the general public wants. So if you feel strongly that you still want to be able to have some sort of virtual meeting capabilities, then I would recommend that you contact your legislator. But right now, that's entirely up to the legislature's hands, whether that passes or not. Otherwise, we go back to the way it used to be and go from there.
Well, as someone who's used it often in the last 6 months, it's been a great asset. I mean, I just spoke at a zoning board for East Greenwich last week, and to be able to just get on at home, in the evening and do that was a huge benefit. So yeah, if you're out there and something you think is important, and as someone who has to deal with these meetings, it is important. So call your legislator and let them know that we should get this passed this week. Let
me see if I can find that. I'm going to look for the number so that you have the number.
That'd be great, Liz. Thank you. Yeah.
While we're talking, but I will say that for parents who don't have to hire a babysitter, for seniors who are not well enough to be in public, for whatever reason, and a lot of municipalities struggle to get a quorum at any kind of a meeting, particularly in the winter. So many of our volunteers are seniors, and they go to Florida for the winter. So it's really been a huge win for everyone. It's complicated. It's hard. The bill's not perfect. Every government on the planet is struggling to figure this out.
Sure.
But we feel like we've come up with a pretty good compromise. We know we're going to have to tweak it to suit whatever problems may arise. But I think going back to the way it used to be is not really an option.
I know. I would agree. Thank you. Yeah. Well, speaking of legislature, let's dive into a bunch of things here that people have asked about. Why don't we start with what are your favorite topics? Why don't we start with marijuana?
My favorite topic.
What do you think? We're going to see anything maybe at a special session later this year? What's the barrier here? Because I obviously it's not an exact analogy, but I always think of it as another variation on liquor laws.
So Ben, if you can put up on the screen, the bill is S804. So as in Senate 804. That's the Senate side of the open meetings bill. Just so we have that. As far as marijuana is concerned, the speaker, the governor, the Senate president, they've all been pretty open in saying, the Senate passed their side of the bill last week, I believe it was.
Yep.
And the speaker has said that he is not interested in doing this right now. The governor has said it's not an emergency to do it right now. There's a lot going on. But it does look very clear that there's going to be some sort of a fall session. And I think that you will see that the topic being brought up then. There's still a lot of discussion about what it should look like. And I'm really hoping that that's what we do this summer, is hammer out the differences that we all have, so that we can all come up with something that we're confident about and get this over the finish line in the fall. But that's what I think, when I think you'll see the activity really happen.
Yeah, no, I hope so, because from a small business perspective, I mean, just drive down 95 and you see those billboards advertising the places in Massachusetts. We're losing lots of money over the border. And from an agriculture perspective, I think it's something that we could certainly benefit from. So I appreciate that you're working on that. I think people understand that it's going to be regulated, obviously, and so to know that you're on top of that is fantastic. Let's jump into while we're on this topic. Let's jump into liquor. I know the Senate and the House, so it's I think both have been transmitted to the governor now. Have passed that takeout liquor is going to stay in effect till March 1st of next year. How's that? I mean, I know from talking to restaurants, it's been a huge benefit to them. How's it been from a regulation side? What do you think there? And do you think that with this benefit of pushing it to March 1st, that maybe we can get it permanent next year?
So it's a common misconception that DBR regulates liquor. Every municipality hands out its own liquor licenses.
Right. Yep.
However, when there's a problem on the local level and they need to appeal somewhere, then they come to DBR. So if there's an underage drinking incident in one of the municipalities and the town shuts down the bar, if they want to appeal that decision, they would come to DBR. So we're only tangentially involved, although we do regulate the breweries and the distilleries and things like that. So, so there are certain things that we fully regulate. But the liquor to go, yes, that was a huge win. Dave, one of my favorite COVID stories is when you reached out to me and said, okay, Liz, the executive order says we can do liquor to go. What does that mean? And I said, give me 15 minutes. And gosh darn it, we did come up with that 15 minutes, didn't it? So, I mean, it's just one of those things that normally would have taken 6 months for us to figure out, right? But instead, you and I came up with it in about 15 minutes with the assistance of Pam Toro, our legal counsel. So it's been a huge boon for everyone. As far as how long it stays, I mean, I think that depends on, the liquor industry working together to come up with a good solution. There's always been a lot of fear, just like there are in some other states, that you're taking business from somebody else. But if they can realize that it's not a hit, perhaps then there's something that can be worked out. Just yesterday, I think the New York Times had an article about this saying that, most states did allow for liquor to go by executive order, even if, for those who didn't already allow it. And by their analysis, about half the states went back to the way it used to be and not allowing liquor to go. So I'm hoping that we will continue to be on the forefront of this, but it wouldn't be unprecedented to go back to the way it used to be. Fair
enough. Understandable. Speaking about regulation and restaurants, it looks like hopefully this week that the General Assembly will also pass the zoning. I don't want to say take away the zoning rights, but you know what I mean. They're going to allow restaurants to continue, and all businesses have done outdoor space, to continue this outdoor space without going through zoning through I think it's April 1st of next year. Has that proven to be, has that been a problem? Do you think that's something that we'll be able to also again work some of these rules out and maybe be a little more lenient with things like that?
I got to tell you, when we started doing that, there was a fear that the municipalities would not allow this to happen in any shape or form. And the reality was almost the opposite. The municipalities absolutely stepped up to try to accommodate as much as they possibly could businesses to allow them to take it outside and do that. From a long-term perspective, every case is going to be different, because if you are a homeowner whose window is right next to, where a bar now is, I was, maybe you're willing to accommodate it during a pandemic, but maybe not forever either, right? So I think every case is on a case-by-case basis, and you'll have the municipalities doing their best to support their local businesses. But it really depends on each circumstance. But forever and always, we'll certainly try to provide any resources. But I did not hear of a single instance of any municipality making any kind of denials for a business that really tried to do something and do it safe and do it right. So
Right.
I would not expect to see that turn around and have the municipalities go the other direction.
Well, that would be great. A couple things here from other folks that I personally don't have knowledge about, so I'll just have to go with their questions here. The agriculture group has talked about product registration fees for animal feed. Are you aware of issues there, keeping small businesses from being able to expand? And anything that can be done there?
It's funny, Chris Priestley brought that up to me the other day. So my history is that I'm an attorney, and I had several hundred LLCs and corporations that were my clients. They were all businesses that I helped them start. I used to always say that I live vicariously through their really cool, fun ideas because I was just a boring attorney. So I have always taken really big pride in trying to get out there to talk to businesses, to ask what the complaints are. And so I've done that for a solid, 5 years now, to say, tell me what your problems are. We would like to try to resolve them. And, this is one of the beauties of Nancy, because I'll say something like, there's a feed problem in agriculture. Can you try to figure it out? And she's the one who will go, oh, that's regulation ABC from law 123, and she'll actually figure it out. And so that is one that I have not heard before, right? So this is a great example of it's post-pandemic, needing to get back out there to hear what people have to say, because I have no doubt that we haven't heard all the problems. And I would love to know who to contact, right? Because a big part of it is reaching out to find out a little bit more, because it is really hard to figure out what the problem is. And like I said earlier in the show, it's usually that you can do it and you just don't know you can do it, right? So that's what we try to sort out is doing that. And we've got a great track record from people telling us what's a dumb law or a dumb regulation, and us fixing it or getting rid of it. So we've done small business omnibus bills for years now, and we've gotten rid of quite a few things. Frozen desserts license. Remember that?
I was just about to say the frozen dessert thing sticks out of my mind because it seems so silly.
So for the general public, so somebody said to us, why do I have to pay an extra fee to have this machine, like a frozen swirl machine, ice cream swirl machine, but it's also used sometimes for like margaritas and things like that. And we were like, really? Like, what is that? So long story short, Nancy Scarduzio, God bless her, she did the research and we figured out, it's like, I think it was $60 a year just to have that machine, which is kind of crazy. Well, come to find out, there was a reason why, which I think is actually quite fascinating. Like, this is how people say, well, how did that even get to be? Well, back in the late 60s, early 70s, you had those machines that dispensed what was usually ice cream, and they were made of copper. And copper and ice cream, fine. But when the world of slushies started to come about, probably like pre-Dell's Lemonade, but, slushy kind of things, slushies with their acidic juices in a copper pipe, kids were getting sick. And so they had to very quickly say no copper piping. It had to be what this new thing called plastic tubing, so that stuff could come through. So the health department, hearing these stories, and I don't know what how many kids got sick, but a lot of kids were getting sick from it. So they decided to regulate it. And then I don't know what the fee was when it started, but it got up to $60. So when it came down to it, do you really need to regulate this anymore? Like, everybody uses plastic, nobody uses copper anymore. And so we were able to get rid of that fee for everybody who paid that on a yearly basis. But that's just one example of, you listen to a complaint, you do the research, you draft a bill to get rid of it, and we got rid of it. So very proud of that, actually.
No, it's a great story. The commercial real estate group asked about if there can be any help with the water testing regulations and shared commercial buildings and spaces. Do we have any information on that?
No, again, Chris brought that one up to me about water testing. That's like, I need to know a whole lot more. Is this water authority water? Is this well water? There's two totally different paths to go down depending on what kind of water you're talking about.
Well, we will have our members in those groups reach out to DBR and talk about it, because
actually, I think Chris is working directly with the ombudsman to kind of get some more information so she can do some research on these.
Excellent. Fantastic. Is there any questions from Facebook? Anyone posting questions on Facebook, Ben?
Hey, guys. First of all, Liz, let me not block your face. Hey. Let's see. Restaurant workers work really hard. They're looking for all kinds of staff right now. No real questions at the moment.
You know what? Mind, Ben, if I talk about restaurants real quick?
I would love if you did that, for sure.
So Dave and I were part of a team of people 4 or 5 years ago where we said, let's try to make it easier to open up a restaurant. Because on average, pre-pandemic, about 1,000 restaurants open per year and about 1,000 restaurants close per year. That's just kind of what the average is.
Yep.
Anyway, But when we looked at how to open up a restaurant, it's really hard. I mean, just that question about water alone, is it well water or is it, public water? I mean, that's extremely challenging to sort those two things out. That said, we listened to everybody talk about what the complaints were. And then we got a team of people in the room to say, how do we streamline this process? How do we put it on paper? Because the health department knows their thing. The municipality department knows that thing. The building section knows, everybody knows their stuff, but nobody put it all together.
Right.
And we have created a how to open up a restaurant website. And it very much looks like a chutes and ladders chart. And it tells you all the things you need to know before you open up a restaurant, about finances and marketing and the taxes and stuff like that. But it also gives you all the forms that you could possibly need so that you don't get yourself in any kind of trouble. So we were very proud of that. That just came out like 2 months ago after many years of work. And you know what, Dave, let's get that link out.
I was going to say, tell Ben and let's get that on the screen.
Yeah, it's on the Commerce website, Ben. I don't know if you can take a look at it, but that website was, we hope is going to be very successful in helping restaurants, because of 1,000 open up a year, we'd like to try to keep them open as much as we can. So really proud of the information and the work that went behind that to create that website.
No, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I was glad you brought that up, because it was a great website. So actually, I'm going to look that up so I can make sure we can get that on the screen there. So let's do that. And while I'm doing that, Liz, any closing thoughts or anything that you'd like to say about DBR?
Well, just to go back to, I'm probably not going to be the quickest one to figure this out, but you can go on the Commerce website and maybe go in the search bar. I'm not sure. I hope so. But for 5 years, I have been talking to businesses to ask them what bothers them, what ails them in some way. And again, we focus very hard on trying to fix your problem, but then trying to fix the problem long term. That was pre-pandemic. The pandemic is now over. My guess is that you have totally different sets of problems and questions and needs. And we have not been asking you because it's been kind of a crazy year. But now we're ready to do that. So it's going to be extremely important for you to tell us what your problems are, to share what is that you find frustrating. And it's okay if you just say, I had this problem once with this place, with this form. But we do need a little bit of information. And if it's more than, probably 2 or 3 years ago, we've probably already kind of addressed it. But if you've got some things that you've suffered the last 2 to 3 years, we would really love to hear what you have to say. If you have ideas, for things that need to be streamlined or paper processes that are clunky, I spent a lot of my time trying to get paper forms to be made electronic. So all of these things are extremely helpful. If you can just tell us what they are, then we can work with whatever state agency it is to try to make it better. But now is your opportunity. You have a governor who cares so much about small business. He really wants to hear what you have to say. I just talked to him yesterday, about listening and trying to hear what businesses have to say, because we want to continue to do more because there's an exhaustive list, right? You just have to tell us though. So any opportunities that you have, whether it's through Dave or through this opportunity or reaching out to DBR, just please share it with us. We'll figure it out. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine too.
No, I can say, from personal experience, you've done fantastic work at DBR. Any government is a bureaucracy, and it's a difficult process. And there's been a lot of good positive change, and hopefully a lot more to come. So, thank you again for your time today, Liz. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to having you back again on the show in the future to talk about more things as they develop.
Sounds great. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. So, thank you again for watching today. This is the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition Business Live Forum, and you can find out more information about the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition at rismallbusiness.org. Sign up for the newsletter. We've got bi-weekly meetings on Mondays at 5. We just had one yesterday, and we'll have another one in 2 weeks. So you're welcome to join us for things like that. We've got the Small Business Live Forum every 2 weeks on Tuesdays at noon. In 2 weeks from today, we've got Mayor Jorge Elorza from the city of Providence on with us. So if you've got questions for the mayor, if you're a small business in Providence, please join us then and get them into the Facebook chat. I know we'll have a lot for the mayor. And again, rismallbusiness.org. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.